Hello Underdogger, it's your boy Underdog Recapped. Before we start, warning, spoilers ahead. Today, we are going to recap an American crime thriller movie released in 2014, called Nightcrawler. A young man who started with nothing tries to chase the American dream after repeatedly failing in life. When he saw an opportunity to grow bigger, he aimed to become the most popular crime journalist by diving into the dark, heinous world of journalism. Can he reach his American dream in this world full of crimes? Let's find out together, in a doggy-styled recap. The movie begins with a young unemployed man named Louis. In desperation to earn money, he tries to steal some metal fences somewhere in Los Angeles. Amidst his act, a security guard suddenly approaches Louis and asks him questions. Louis pretends as if he is lost to avoid suspicion, and as soon as he gets close to the guard, he beats him up and then successfully steals the fences, and that guard's watch. Later that night, he goes to a scrapyard to sell the fences he stole. There, Louis meets with the scrapyard's foreman and tries to apply for a job as he thinks that stealing is not going to get him anywhere. However, the foreman declined Louis' application because he wouldn't want to employ a thief in his scrapyard. When Louis drives home, he stops at a nearby car accident scene where two cops are helping the victim. Soon after, a news van pulls over, then a man named Joe and his assistant quickly records the accident on cam. After that, Louis tries his chance and asks Joe if he is hiring right now, and Joe answers that he is not. Before Joe and his assistant goes to another emergency, Louis notices that Joe uses a police radio scanner to track an emergency earlier than other journalists. The following day, Louis watches the news about last night's accident on TV, showing the footage that Joe's team had recorded. Seeing an opportunity to earn money, he was then inspired to do what Joe did. Louis starts by stealing a bike and selling it to a pawn shop. He bought a camcorder and a police scanner, then immediately ventured to record any nearby emergency. At first, he is too amateur to record the scene and gets shooed away by the police at some emergency and crime scenes. After failing a couple of times, he gets one good shot of a victim's final moment and decides to sell the recording to the KWLA news station. There, Louis meets with Nina, the news director at KWLA news station. When Nina sees Louis' footage, she likes it and then pays Louis $250 for the footage. At this moment, Louis and Nina's partnership begins. Day after, Louis sees his footage on KWLA Morning News. With vast opportunities in this field, Louis starts studying police dispatch code to plan his move. Sometime later, Louis meets a young man named Rick, who he hires as his assistant. Louis teaches a lot of things about their job to Rick so he can help Louis hunt for footage. After waiting for some moment, they get their chance to record a nearby crime scene. Louis drives as fast as he can, which causes Rick to be scared and give him false direction. They are a bit too late because of Rick's navigation mistake when they reach the place. But Louis, who refuses to give up, sneaks into the victim's house and records the condition inside to get extraordinary footage than other journalists. When Louis presents the footage to Nina, she is impressed by its uniqueness and decides to buy it from Louis, even though one of her crew objects to using the footage. At the end of the night, Louis ends his meeting with Nina by telling her about his ambition to grow his current profession even further. From this moment, Louis keeps on making money by recording and selling news footage to KWLA. After nights of pursuing police dispatches and taking footages, Louis, who previously owned an old car, now owns a brand new red sports car, marking his success. One night, Louis and Rick hear a dispatch of a nearby car accident and arrive at the scene before the police arrive. Louis then decides to enter the scene and even goes as far as rearranging the victim's body position to get a good shot for his footage. When other journalists arrive with the police, Louis leaves the scene smoothly. After selling the recent footage to Nina, she and Louis have a conversation where Louis asks her to go to dinner with him. Nina is hesitant to go at first, but then she makes up her mind and accepts Louis' invitation. Then when Louis walks out of the KWLA office, he meets Joe, who seemingly tries to offer Louis to work for him by taking over his second van rather than competing on each other. However, even after Joe offers a couple of times, Louis insists on working alone and refuses Joe's offer. At the end of their meeting, Joe left empty-handed with anger. Later at night, Louis and Nina are having dinner at a Mexican restaurant. Louis then tries to flirt with Nina and says that he is interested in her and wants to be more than just a business partner. Besides that, Louis manipulates Nina to submit to his demand if she wants him to keep selling his footage to KWLA to support Nina's reputation and contract as the director. The following night, Louis and Rick go on a hunt to take footage of a private plane accident nearby. When they arrive, it is too late as Joe has already taken all the footage. Joe then mocks Louis' lateness and tries to make Louis regret refusing his offer earlier. When Louis arrives at the KWLA office, Nina is furious at him because he failed to get the plane crash footage and instead gives her minor crime footage. Louis then returns home in anger. After seeing the footage Joe's taken earlier showing on the TV, he gets even angrier and smashes his mirror. The next morning, Louis sneaks into Joe's property and does something to Joe's news van. Later at night, Louis and Rick hear about a nearby car accident and immediately drive to the scene. When they arrive, the accident they are about to record turns out to be Joe's news van that crashes into the side of the road. Rick is shocked when he sees Joe's van crash, while Louis reacts with nothing as he knows he caused this accident. With no remorse, Louis then takes the footage of the dying Joe as he is taken to an ambulance. After taking the footage of Joe's accident, Louis and Rick pursue another dispatch call about a home invasion that leads them to a wealthy suburb. When they arrive, they realize that they are the first to arrive on the scene even before the police came. Louis took the initiative and went by himself to the crime scene. When he reaches the front yard, a gunshot can be heard coming from the house. Louis then hides among the bush and starts recording when two men run out of the house and escape with a black SUV. After that, Louis goes inside the house and films the whole crime scene, finding two female victims who had been shot. Just when Louis is about to leave the house, he finds another victim who seems to be still alive. However, Louis ignores the dying man as he escapes with Rick from the crime scene just before the police arrive. When they return to the town, Louis stops his car and decides to edit the footage by removing the part where he records the suspects and the dying man before selling it to KWLA News. After that, Louis goes to KWLA's studio and tries to sell his footage to them. Louis's footage makes Nina and her crew left in awe as it is very recent and graphic. Nina then asks her crew to leave before negotiating the footage's price with Louis. Amidst the negotiation, Louis asks for a hefty price which Nina refuses and asks to lower his price. However, Louis is smart enough to threaten Nina by saying he can sell this footage to other news stations if Nina refuses his demand. They then negotiate a deal where Louis will give her the footage of Joe's accident for free and accept Nina's price if he gets to know the KWLA crew and is introduced as the president of his new company, Video Production News. Not only that, but Louis also demands that Nina fulfill his demand of a personal moment together, which then Nina agrees to. Soon after, Nina introduced Louis to all KWLA staff as their partner company and proceeded to air the footage that Louis took this night. The following day, Louis watches as all the news stations report the event he covered last night. Not long after, two detectives knock on Louis's door and ask him questions about last night's crime scene. When asked if Louis saw the suspects, Louis lies to them and states that he did not see the men clearly because it was dark. He then lied that he intended to help the victim instead of taking the footage. To convince the detectives, Louis gives them a copy of his edited footage to make them leave. After dealing with the cops, Louis investigates his unedited footage to track the suspect's identity. He then finds the criminals' addresses, then picks up Rick early in the evening to start his plan. Louis then tells Rick that he manages to track down the suspects from last night's crime scene and plans to trap them to get good footage. When Rick hears Louis's plan, he gets very nervous and tells Louis to call the police instead. However, Louis explains that they will call the police later to ensure they got the footage when police apprehend these criminals. While they wait near the criminal's address, Louis tells Rick that he is promoting him as his company's vice president and giving him a small raise to make Rick a bit calmer. However, Rick doesn't seem content with the small raise Louis gave him and instead asks for half of the $50,000 money Louis is about to earn with his plan. They then argue about the share as Rick threatens to spoil their plan if Louis doesn't give him his demand. To make Rick shut his mouth, Louis tells him that he agrees with splitting the money in half. After waiting for some times, one of the criminals go out of his home and drive the black SUV to pick up his partner while Louis and Rick quietly tail them. When the suspects stop at a fast food restaurant, Louis calls 911 and report the location of the suspects. He then tells Rick to take his camera and record the footage from different angle. At first, Rick refuses to get out of the car but then reluctantly agrees to after Louis threatens to fire him. Soon after, some policemen arrive at the restaurant while Louis and Rick record the event from afar. Suddenly, the criminals who start to feel uneasy shoot the police officers inside the restaurant. A brutal shootout ensues with two wounded officers, one of the criminals shot dead, while the other manages to escape with his car. Louis and Rick then take the opportunity to film the chase scene of the police and the suspect. After an intense car chase, the suspect rams a police patrol car and crashes into the side of the road. Louis and Rick, who are following the suspect this whole time, then immediately get out of their car to film the end of the chase. Louis then tells Rick that the suspect is dead and asks him to record the scene. Just when Rick walks closer to the suspect's car, The man inside turns out to be alive and shoots Rick 4 times. The wounded suspect then gets out of his car and stares at Louis, who is still filming on the scene. He ignores Louis and walks to the other side of the road before being shot by the police who have just arrived. Louis then walks to the dying Rick and films his last moment. In his last breath, Rick asks why Louis lied to him and made him get shot. Louis answers that he is willing to sacrifice Rick for good footage and ensure his company's success. Before leaving, Louis takes the camera from Rick's corpse. After that, Louis goes to KWLA's studio and submits his edited footage of tonight's event. Nina is amazed by the quality of Louis' footage and immediately prepares to air it. A moment before airing the news, 2 detectives who previously came to Louis ask to get Louis' footage, but Nina refuses to by stating it is their property. Unable to get more evidence, they then arrest and interrogate Louis himself for his involvement in tonight's event. When Louis is interrogated, he lies about the detail and manages to free himself because the detective got no evidence to prove Louis' involvement. At the end of the movie, Louis, who started as a small thief, now owns his own news company, with more employees and 2 news vans, marking his achievement of the American dream. Even though Louis manages to turn his life into success, he uses manipulation and deceives others to climb his way to the top. As good human beings, we should not follow Louis' path and instead stay true to honest effort. What would you do if you were in Louis' position? Let us know what you think in the comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in our next recap.